guys, welcome back to Juice on the Rocks, presented to you by the Finest in TV with your host, me, Aunt Juice. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Thank you for any engagement and love that you have shown my content. If you don't mind, if you would please hit the like, share, and subscribe button to let me know that you are enjoying my content. That would be gratefully appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's get to the business. Thank you guys. Hey guys, I am back with another video in regards to the state of Michigan versus Jarvis Butts in the alleged disappearance and murder of Naziah Harris. In this particular video, I wanted to kind of give a deeper analysis on Naziah and what she must have been thinking and feeling going through this situation. I'm not saying that anything is in truth about what I'm saying, but what I'm giving is my perspective on how she had to survive through this situation that she was enduring, dealing with the toxic family dynamic and going through systemic abuse. Um, and I wanted to kind of get you guys to just kind of, go with me as I venture into a deeper analysis of Naziah and her, how she had to live through everything and how she must have been processing and dealing with these things. Um, Now, it is my opinion and my perspective that Naziah is um, not only a survivor at the time that she was dealing with these things. And unfortunately, it resulted in her disappearance and possible homicide. But at the time, she was surviving through these things, is what I'm getting at. And I will explain further. So, I want to start with this clip here. And I will take you guys through multiple clips because I think that these are things that we needed to zero in order to kind of gain a perspective from her, from how she was maneuvering and how she must have been viewing things. Um, and I will be the first to say that I absolutely, at first hearing of this case and listening to the testimonies and analysis of the case from the experts involved, from the family and everyone else. At first glance, I was looking at Naziah the wrong way. And hear me out, because I think that it would shed a little more light onto what possibly happened to her and why. Um, I think that I'll just say this: Naziah, in my opinion, was not just a a victim. I don't think that she was groomed as in like the victim mindset. And I think that with my own experiences, that's the way I was viewing her. But I do think that she had to assume a role in order to survive the abusive family dynamic that she was born into. Um, I think that Naziah was very smart. I think that she did whatever she had to do to go along, to get along, to survive. And the reason that I state that is because, based on the text messages alone, a lot of light was shed on, for me, a lot of light was shed on how she was having to maneuver around people who weren't protecting her. Um, and not just her, but the other little girls in her household were not being protected. She wasn't the only one, okay? And I'll explain further as we get into these clips. But I wanted to start with this particular one because it sheds a little light on um, well, I'll just let y'all listen to it and then I'll give my commentary. about it.
To Mr. Butts saying, or job. At 1:57 a.m., a message is sent to Neziah from Mr. Butts' phone saying, can you suck my dick, please? The message immediately following that from Mr. Butts' phone to Neziah, and make sure you erase the messages. Still September 27th, 1:59 UTC, a message is sent to Mr. Butts that says, okay, that is what I planned to do. Another.
Let me just stop that right there because, okay, so Naziah is a very, very smart girl. In another clip I'm going to show you guys is of Annette testifying that how smart Naziah is, and that in some after school programs she participated in, it dealt with electronics, more notably robotics, right? We already know that Naziah was very proficient in electronics because she knew how to operate and function uh, social media and how to operate tablets and phones and things like that. She knew pretty well how these things worked, right? So, and even here, demonstrating in her response, she says, that was what I was planning to do, right? To delete the messages. Jarvis, being as old as he is, um, you would think that he would know that just simply deleting messages doesn't cover anything up, you know? But I think 13-year-old Naziah knew that anything that she did on any electronic device, you could delete the messages, but it ain't going nowhere. Hear me out. You could, I think she understood that once something is put out there, whether you delete it or not, it's never truly gone. So let's continue.
Another message is immediately following that at 2:01 to Mr. Butts. You turn me on just looking at you, and then there's a bunch of letters, which possibly it's maybe an image that was sent that doesn't capture on the messages. 2:02 a.m., Naziah sends another message to Jarvis. What time to be in the basement? 2:03 a.m., he replies and sends her a message that says, go change your clothes and take your panties off. Naziah replies to Mr. Butts and says the letter K. At 2:10 a.m., so 7 minutes later, a message is sent from Naziah to Jarvis's phone. I hear you. What you looking at? Jarvis replies back immediately to her saying the letter U. At 2:13 a.m. UTC, still on September 27th, Naziah sends Jarvis a message that says, I know, I'm finna sleep good. There's another message directly after that that has a bunch of symbols, so I'm not sure if it was a one of those little emojis.
So I'm going to stop that right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and give y'all the realization that I came to. Naziah is setting the stage for Jarvis to um, begin outing himself. At this point, she is collecting evidence. Okay. He told her to delete the messages, but I think that Naziah was smart enough to know that even if you delete them, they're not going to go anywhere. If somebody wants to get a hold of, you know, of a device like her auntie or her grandmother or whoever was taking devices from them, as Annette testified, and I'll show y'all that clip too if you need reference, that she did testify that sometimes they took her devices from her. that sometimes they took those devices from her. But my question is, if she felt like Naziah was such a good kid, why would you felt the need to take her devices from her? But I'll get into that in a second. We're gonna go ahead and move on to another clip. Hang tight, y'all.
Talk or Facebook or anything like that?
I tried. A lot of times, I would take her phone and stuff from her, so, to keep her from being on there.
And after the 9th, did you ever see any posts made by Naziah?
I didn't see any posts. Most of the time, if there was a post or something, or she posts, my daughter or someone would call me and tell me.
Have you ever heard, after the 9th, ever heard any communication or seen Naziah? When, is that a no?
No.
And when you dropped her off on the 9th at school at J.E. Clark, was that the last time you saw her?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Trish?
Yes.
Just to follow up, I did forget to ask this. Her bus stop, how far from your house was that in walking distance?
5 minutes.
And do you know where the location that she got dropped off at was, the address or the intersection?
Right there at 3 Mile Drive in Cornwall.
Okay, so I went a little bit over it with this clip, but um, basically, she openly testified that she was taking Naziah's devices from her. But the question is, why? If you felt like she was such a good kid and she was so smart, which you knew she was smart, right? Why were you taking her devices from her? Why couldn't she be on her social media? If you didn't know that anything was going on between her and Jarvis, why would you felt the need to take her devices from her? Now, we know that uh Naziah loved social media. She loved, doing little dances and singing those songs and things like that. And from my perspective, she wanted to just be a normal teenage kid. And that's what normal teenagers do. They do little song and dance on TikTok because that's what it's used for. They love Instagram. They love Facebook. They love these social media apps. Am I saying in any way that they should have free range to use social media to their advantage any way they feel? No. Am I saying that they should be monitored? Yes. But if you felt like Naziah was such a good kid, why did you feel the need to take her devices from her randomly and often? Like, I'm trying to understand that because she didn't really give any reason to why she was doing that. You know what I mean? And to me, she kind of goes into another clip of saying that um her daughter Shannon would go through the devices and tell her if Naziah posted anything. So yeah, I'm just but I feel like Naziah was running circles around these people in the brains department. And I think that Naziah was basically, I think she knew what she was doing as far as gathering evidence to blow the lid off of what was going on with her. Because if you remember, in the initial CPS investigation where she was named as a victim, um they did not interview her. So I feel like at that point, Naziah must have felt defeated. She must have felt like her cries for help were going unheard. She told, and no one did anything. Everybody overlooked it. CPS never investigated her and, interviewed her or even asked her if anything, happened to her, right? So I'm curious as to why her family weren't of the understanding that if you're monitoring her devices, like how did y'all go missing these messages and things that were going on? Because Naziah was not deleting every single message. She did leave us clues and breadcrumbs, some of them blaring, right? She deleted a large portion of messages, yes, but there were certain ones that she did not delete. And it begs to question that if Shannon was going through the messages or going through the devices, rather, how did she miss those particular messages? Naziah was smart. Naziah was smart. She was playing a role, um, keeping Jarvis engaged so that he would out himself and that everyone else that has something to do with it would out themselves. And that's basically what we were seeing play out with each of these so-called family members on the stand. They telling on themselves and each other by contradicting statements, by literally saying the things that they've done without really saying it word for word that they're responsible, but they don't even realize that they're telling on themselves. So let's continue. Hang on tight.
And did Naziah have any close relationship with any of these children particularly?
Um, she was close with my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, yeah.
Which granddaughter is that?
Naziah. I mean, Janiyah.
Okay.
All of their names are similar.
And Janiyah is Shannon's daughter.
Yes,
That would be Jarvis's daughter as well, correct?
correct.
And at your Bedford Street address, how many adults live there?
Just me and Shannon.
Okay. When did Shannon move in?
I'm sorry.
When did Shannon move in to Bedford?
Oh, I guess back in October, last October or something.
That would be October of 23?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop that clip right there. And I wanted to touch on this piece here because I wanted to point out that Naziah and Janiyah, which would be Shannon and Jarvis's oldest daughter, were actually very close, right? So in the text messages that we hear when Naziah is telling Jarvis that she doesn't want Janiyah to be around and that she wants him all to herself, I gotta tell y'all that the first two times that I heard that, it did sound like maybe she was jealous, and just wanted Jarvis to herself and just didn't want, you know, and just was falling into the programming of his abuse, and the grooming. And I had to go back and when I listened to it again, I was like, that's not it at all. She was protecting Janiyah. She was protecting Janiyah because she knew, because I remembered in the other parts of the testimonies that Janiyah had witnessed what was going on, right, between Naziah and Jarvis, but also in the same text messages where she was saying that Janiyah do too much and that was her, you know, eggplant. We gonna call it an eggplant, right? If you know, you know what I'm saying. And that she didn't. It wasn't that she was like jealous that Janiyah was getting more attention. That's what Jarvis thought, right? But whole time Naziah was protecting Janiyah. She didn't want her to go through what he was doing to her. She this girl literally laid her life on the line, y'all. The more I listened to these text messages, Naziah lived she was trying to protect the other girls that he was doing this to. And I'll get to those clips in a second. Hang tight. So here's the clip where I was just illustrating to y'all that I'm sorry, that Naziah and Jarvis were establishing, or Naziah was trying to establish um that she wanted him to herself, but he told her that first. And so she went with it and she took that and said to herself, I know that you don't really want me to yourself. You're just saying that so that you can keep getting the benefit from me, but I'm going to keep playing into it. Right. And I think it was at this moment when Naziah slipped into the role of portraying his girlfriend. I don't think she was groomed. I think she was playing a role to go along, to get along. And I think it was at this moment when she realized this what she had to do in order to keep him from doing, or try really hard to keep him from doing what he was doing to her, to the other little girls in her household. Right? Check this out.
At 0006 hours, she receives a message from Jarvis that says, "Stop messing with people and just be mine."
And was that deleted?
No.
Now, mind you, she did not delete that text message. The reason I feel like she did not delete that text message is because she was leaving a breadcrumb. So if anything happened to her, we would know where to look, who to look at, why we're looking at them, right? What is transpiring, what is going on. She literally opened the door for him to openly admit he's trying to, have her be in a relationship with him, but not in the way that he's trying to make her believe he wants. He just wants the benefit from her. And the benefit from her would be the continued cycle of abuse. And I'm going to go into detail more about why I think that Naziah was not as groomed as we thought that she was, and that this was all her way of collecting evidence and trying to be heard and seen, right? And leaving a trail so that people can find it. She wanted, if she knew that her aunt and her grandmother was taking her devices, she left certain pieces for them to see it, and they did nothing. Allegedly. All of this is allegedly, but this is my perception of how I feel about how she must have been trying to maneuver throughout this toxic cycle of abuse that she was incurring. So hang tight. So in this next clip, I'm going to show you how she starts to begin to try to keep him engaged. Like, she's literally offering herself up. And I feel like she's doing that because she wants to try to keep him engaged in her and only her, so that he's not going back and having a chance or time to, or even thinking about doing what he's doing to her to the other little girls in her household, namely Janiyah, right? Because we know that at some point he was allegedly abusing Janiyah as well. So I will play this clip here because I want to demonstrate that to you in these text messages.
At 21:16 hours, she sends to Jarvis, call me, want to tell you something, SUM. At 21:24 hours, she sends a message to Jarvis that says, you can get some today. At 21:24 hours, she sends another message that says, you can get some pussy today.
And were any from that set deleted?
Yes, all of them.
All of them. Okay. Now moving to June 27th. There's a set that's highlighted. Can you read those, please?
Yes. June 27th at 7:55 UTC. There is a incoming call to Neziah from Jarvis that is listed as a missed call, and the name on here that she has this number saved is Bae for Life, BAE, the number 4, and then life. Then at 7:56, he sends her a text that says, are you naked yet? At 7:58, she replies to him and says, no, I don't want to get naked. At 7:59, she replies, are you mad that I didn't get naked? At 8:01 hours, he sends to her, I used to you telling me no. At 8:06, still on June 27th, he sends her a message that says, she sends him a message that says, come on, babe, I'm sorry, just not in the mood right now, I'm sorry.
Okay. And were those messages deleted?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I questioned myself several times about why there were conflicting emotions and actions when it came to Naziah's dealings with Jarvis in this way. And I think the reason that I was looking at this all wrong in the beginning is because I was looking at it from a victim mindset. I was looking at it from a grooming mindset and not the mindset of a very intelligent 13-year-old who knew she was being abused, knew it was wrong, and was trying to do everything that she could to survive the abuse that she was enduring, and also carrying the weight of all of this on her back and trying to protect her little cousin and other little girls in the house, or just other little girls, period. Because let's just face it, if Jarvis was doing this to her and Janiyah allegedly, then who else was he doing this to? Now, she's only one little girl. She can only take but so much, right? So I get the feeling that in this particular moment where she was saying that she was not in the mood and she was not, like, she was really like feeling down about herself and not wanting to, engage him in that way. But she was also leaving us a breadcrumb to let us know, or whoever finds the message or see the message, that she's not into what he is doing to her. She's not into what he is doing to her. She left us the conflicting emotions and behavior because she wanted us, or whoever, to know, whoever finds the messages, to know that she was not with it. Okay. And she only had this means of letting somebody know, like, hey, this is what's going on, without saying, hey, I'm being abused, please help me. Because she don't know what that could have led to. And unfortunately, had she done it that way, and it still ended up that way allegedly, but she left enough for investigators to dig for. You understand what I'm saying? She left a breadcrumb. So you find the breadcrumb and you want to know what else is there, right? Let's keep going. I also wanted to add that, she's trying to keep him engaged, even though she's clearly saying, no, I don't want to do, to get naked. And and he says to her, I'm used to you telling me no. So that is a clear indication that she has told him no multiple times before. So I think at this point is when she's trying to keep him engaged, and he's using um ignoring her as a form of punishment. I think it started to click to her like, wait a minute, if I'm not doing what he wants me to do, then who else is he doing this with or doing this to, right? So that's when she starts trying to reel him back in so that he's not doing it to anybody else anymore. And she's starting to become apologetic. See, most abuse victims are usually threatened with violence and or mental abuse and things like that. In her case, he was using ignoring her as a form of punishment, but and also leaving her to wonder, what is he doing and who is he doing with? Because remember, she's also saying, I want you for myself. Remember that, right? But she's doing that not for the reasons that we think, because he groomed her to be that way, but because she wants him to not be doing it to nobody else, hurting nobody else, nobody else's kid. She's in that house with her own little cousin who's experiencing the same thing that she's experiencing. So I'm feeling like she just doesn't want him to be doing it to Janiyah. Because think about it, when he's not around Neziah, he come over there to get them kids quite a bit. So when he come to get them kids, guess what's going on in Neziah's mind? He's doing something to her. He's doing something to Janiyah in her mind, allegedly. This is just the pieces that I'm putting together. So now she feel like whenever he get the other kids, she gotta call to his attention and get him reeled back into her so that Janiyah is not going through what Neziah had to go through.
Now, jumping to it's a little later in the day on June 27th, there's a set highlighted.
So on June 27th, now at 16:24 hours, he sends her a message that says, but I can't nut inside you, so it's different. At 16:25, she replies.
In this clip, I'm still demonstrating the fact that Neziah is reeling him in and keeping him talking so that when whoever finds this stuff, they can see that he is more than willing to not only do this stuff with Neziah, but other girls as well. Check the clip.
15:07, Neziah sends, I will let you know. At 15:08, she sends, you might can slide if you're not so busy at work. At 15:08, Jarvis replies back to Neziah, yeah. At 15:08, he then sends, I'm trying to slide. At 15:13, Neziah sends to Jarvis the word question. Then at 15:13, he replies back, yes. At 15:14, she sends, do you like your girls skinny? At 15:14, he replies, why you ask that? At 15:14, she replies, just asking, and then there's some type of emojis that must have been sent.
And were those messages deleted?
Yes.
Okay. And moving just a little later in the minutes on July 6th.
Yeah, July 6, 15:35, Neziah sends, I don't think she's going anywhere. At 15:37, Jarvis sends to Neziah, that's messed up because I was going to fuck the shit out of you. At 15:37, she sends, I still want you to do it. At 15:40, she says, sends a message that says, am I going to see you today on your break? At 15:59, Jarvis replies, how? At 16:01, Messiah sends, don't you supposed to be bringing me the money anyway, so I will see you? 16:03, she says, unless you are going to go to the store and get me some pads and other personal things. At 16:03, there's some type of emojis that are sent. 16:24, she sends, I'm down to my last 3 pads. I would ask Nana, but I can't fit her big pads. I have a little pussy, they shit big. At 17:41, she sends a bunch of question marks with the letters WYA. 17:57, she says, what do I supposed to do? What do I supposed to use? 17:57, she sends another set of question marks. At 18:08, Jarvis replies with the word, huh. At 18:10, Messiah says, I don't have any more pads. 18:10,
I need to stop that right there, because I need to also highlight that, predators do not love their victims. They do not. So to those of you that are out there that are so disgusting to try to romanticize a relationship between a child predator and his victim, you're disgusting. And I hope that I never come across any of y'all. There is nothing remotely romantic about a predator who is using a child for his own gratification. That is all he was using her for. He wasn't interested in having a relationship with her. The only relationship he wanted out of her was to use her girl parts. That's it. So I find it really nasty that y'all are sitting up here saying, "Oh, well, she had that man running circles for her, and he loved Naziah. He loved her more than he loved them big backs and this, that, and the third. He didn't love anybody. He didn't love anybody. That man didn't even love himself, because if he did, he wouldn't be doing this shit. He wouldn't be doing this to no kids. He wouldn't be doing this to himself and fucking up his life. So no, he don't love nothing or no one. All he love is what he doing and whatever he's doing to gratify his own self. Y'all are real nasty doing that. And I've seen some of y'all that be posting on here that be doing that stuff, saying that how he loved her more than he loved Shannon. No, he didn't. He didn't love nobody. He mistreated literally everyone. So cut the crap. This right here demonstrates that. He wasn't even trying to get this girl no pads. He was making her beg for pads, for Plan B pills, for his attention. All because the means justified his ends. If he could do that to her and still get his way. But whole time, Naziah was running circles around him. She was literally setting the stage for him to plant his own evidence. And I had to re-listen to these text messages again, because usually when a child SA victim is groomed, they are programmed to do things. And that was what I had thought initially in one of my other videos. I thought this girl was just programmed and groomed so severely that she was doing these things because he groomed her to. When that's not it. She was literally playing a role to survive the toxic family and people that she was around who were not protecting her, who didn't hear her cries. She had literally to go along to get along. And I'm literally trying to fight back tears right now for this little girl because she felt like she had to carry all of that shit on her back by herself. And she was doing nothing but trying to protect herself and protect her cousin. Do y'all hear this shit? When she's telling him that he literally said multiple times he was used to her telling him no. He was used to her telling him no. That means she didn't want none of this going on. She didn't want it. She ran circles around these people because she's so smart. She literally set the stage for all of them to fall behind this shit. And I'm so fucking proud of her. I'm saying that she had to go through this. It pisses me off. I want to beat everybody's ass involved. But she literally did what she had to do to survive this shit. And unfortunately, it still led to potentially her demise. But look at what she left behind. She blew the door wide open. And I bleed for justice for her. Y'all don't understand what this girl has left behind. Let's move on to the next clip. So in this clip, we're gonna listen to Shannon basically tell that she went inside the tablet, the school issued department tablet, and that she had prepared it to be returned to the school so that they could turn it into the police and have it examined. So, listen to what she says, because I mean, Naziah blew the door wide open for these people to have to sit here and tell it. Like,
That you've seen.
It was roughly 2 messages that I have seen that I can recall. States,
I'm going to object to this as hearsay. They have not been admitted, and the messages themselves would be the evidence.
Were they of any? Were the messages of a sexual nature?
no.
Okay. And you said you saw 2 messages.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see anything else?
It was two sent pictures, but you can't really make anything out. It wasn't nothing there, but it was a picture was sent.
Okay. What did seeing those messages, what did they cause you to do?
Well, when I see no messages, I called him.
Who's
and Jarvis Butts.
Okay.
Called him while he was at work, asked him, what is these messages I seen between you and my niece? And he said, what messages? Said it's 2 particular messages that states out and it's a picture. And he stated that, I don't know, on these messages, I told him what the messages were, and he said it was probably our children was messaging him. And I stated no, because I know how our children will text.
Okay. And reading those messages, is that what caused you to text
Mr. Butts, yes.
Mr. Butts, in that you've seen the messages in the inbox and you don't really know what to believe anymore?
Correct.
Okay. One second.
okay, so there we have an admission that, Shannon did go into the text, into the messages in the tablet and things like that, and that she confronted Jarvis. Whole time, Shannon is looking at Naziah as alleged competition instead of looking at it as, this is my niece who is being abused. Now, granted, her reply to him, okay, she confronted him, told him to stay away and doing all of that, but she didn't really mean that, because as we could see, that she's still allegedly involved with him and allegedly helping him, putting money on his books and doing all these different things allegedly. Okay. So she was never trying to protect Naziah. She wasn't even trying to protect her own daughter, allegedly. And Naziah knew that. No one was protecting them. Nobody cared. So Naziah had to carry that on her back and protect that little girl as best as she could. She's only 13. She was a baby. None of these grown ass adults were doing anything, and they were taking her devices, and I know they had to possibly see these things. It ain't that much deleting in the world that you could do, especially when she left breadcrumbs behind. The prosecutor literally asked the investigators, were certain text messages deleted. Majority of them were, but there was stuff in there still to be found. Come on now. Now, granted, I know that there was different devices, but these apps were linked across all devices. Let's not be dense. They didn't know, once they gave the tablet back, they didn't need the tablet anymore. They had the other devices, i.e. the phone that Kenyatta gave Naziah a phone. So she had access to other devices. So let's be clear. These people, allegedly, they seen all of this stuff going on. They just didn't do nothing about it. Let's move on.
Now, did Naziah participate in any extracurricular activities? Was she on band or anything?
She liked it, gym, robotics, art. I mean, she liked a lot of things that she was, involved in,
And would any of these things cause her to have stayed after school?
The only time she stayed after school is when she wanted to be enrolled in the after-school program.
Just one. I just want to step back a moment. We asked you about her social media. You said there were some things that you weren't aware of on social media, correct? Did you ever check her direct messages?
Like I said, I did, but when I did, there was nothing on there.
There was nothing?
No.
Okay. Did you monitor any of her conversations?
Yeah. I would, go check, But like I said, a lot of times, I took Naziah's tablet, from her at one point, So there was really nothing that I knew of that she was on unless she got somebody's cell phone or something,
So you did mention that she had a tablet. How many devices did she have that allowed her to connect to social media?
She only had that one tablet that I had bought her.
Okay.
And like I said, I took that tablet and put that tablet up.
But then you said that she had a phone that was given to her from Kenyatta. Naziah has had, over time, access to other devices aside from that tablet. So, and even at that, you just said that she was a good kid and that when you did go through it, you didn't see anything in there. I call bullshit, and I think you're a liar, Annette. I think you seen exactly what the fuck was going on. And then you threw the shit off onto Shannon for Shannon to deal with it. And then Shannon did nothing. Because why? Shannon wanted to keep dealing with Jarvis. And in a way, I think that she was using Naziah in order to do that, to keep dealing with Jarvis and having him come around. All of these people, in my opinion, have used Naziah to keep Jarvis coming around for whatever reason. All of them selfish. None of them wanted to do anything to protect the little girls in their household, especially given the fact that they knew what he was when he first started coming around. They knew what he was, allegedly. But whole time, Naziah is studying robotics, which means she has a very good understanding at 13 years old how devices work. I'm not saying she know everything and that she, and all like that. What I'm saying is if technology was an interest to her and she clearly demonstrated the use of the knowledge of knowing how to use technology and social media, then it's not beyond her to know the basics that whatever you put out there on the internet or on a device is out there and can be found. This girl was literally collecting evidence to blow the whistle on everybody. And it's sad that she had to go to this link just to be heard, only for her life to be taken from her, allegedly. Like, let's go. Let's move on.
So on January 9th, you took her to school, correct?
Correct.
And you said it was her and two of your other children that went to the same
My
school?
2 other children and my daughter's children. I dropped them all off.
And you said
Would Naziah ever go with his kids out to the car?
If Shannon was out there, she would.
Oh. And Mr. Riggins also asked you about the tablet that you bought for Naziah.
Yes.
Remember those questions?
Yes.
And when, if you can remember, narrow that down, when did you buy that tablet for her?
I bought that tablet for her one Christmas. I think it was I think it was in 22 when I bought that tablet, at the end of 22 when I bought that tablet for her.
So December of 22?
Yeah, I think that when I bought that tablet.
So she would have had that tablet for roughly just over a year then, correct?
Correct.
So here she's saying that she purchased the tablet. So now it leaves to question, was the tablet actually property of the school and she bought it from them for Naziah? Or did she buy it from a store? I'm confused on that because there's 2 different accounts of where that tablet came from. Now, regardless of what, the point that I was making was that Naziah is very intelligent apparently, and she know enough to where how technology works and how she could make it work in her favor to be heard, because apparently making a complaint to CPS initially back in 2022 where she was named as a victim didn't work. It fell on deaf ears, so she had to go another route. And she used technology to her ability. And she also used Jarvis's own tactics of manipulation against him. And she made that work in her favor to try to protect herself because nobody else was doing it, and try to protect her little cousins who lived in the household with her.
And did Naziah also have access to a cell phone?
The only cell phone she had access to was one of the cell phones when my oldest daughter came to visit me. She gave to Naziah, but she could only use it by Wi-Fi.
You said your oldest daughter, is that Naziah's biological mother?
Yes.
Okay. And
Now, see, I feel like the reason that they didn't want Naziah to have access to these devices is because they didn't want her making a mistake in, outing what she was experiencing and what was going on. I feel like they were trying to limit her usage of these things because she didn't uh want Naziah to have her backgrounds and surroundings in the videos and things like that also. But because as you could see, we saw that the refrigerator had a chain on it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that. And I'm also assuming um the making in their eyes making her making a mistake and ultimately revealing somehow some kind of a way what she was experiencing. But did they really care to protect her from it? No, they just didn't want her speaking on it. They just didn't want her to make a mistake and out everybody. That's what I think their concern was. And that's what I think that they were taking the tablets from her for. But let's move on.
Through what's your oldest daughter's name?
Kenya Harris.
Through Kenyatta Harris, Naziah.
And she just lied and said that the only device that Naziah had access to was the tablet, and now she's saying, "Oh yeah, she had access to a phone that Kenyatta gave her," which is what I just was telling y'all. These people are tripped.
Got access to a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stop that clip right there, but I got something else for y'all. Hang tight.
I don't have anything else, thank you. Can you redirect?
Did you go to the Park Crest Inn on January 9th, 2024, Mr.
No.
Fox?
No.
And fair to say, you knew of Mr. Butts having other female friends.
Yes.
Okay. And even some that you didn't know about.
Correct.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that you don't always know, or you didn't always know what Mr. Butts was doing?
No.
You couldn't account for his whereabouts every minute of the day?
No.
Didn't know what he was doing every day. Fair. Can't know what somebody's ever doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Can't account for anybody's whereabouts 24/7. So fair. But you mean to tell me that you knew that he had other women that he was dealing with, but did not know that he was grooming or attempting to groom and essay your niece and your daughter and other children that may have resided or been in that house? Right there up underneath your own nose, but you knew about other women outside of your own household. Come on, Shannon. And you was in the devices per your own words. Per your own admission, you seen the text, some of the text messages. Like, what? But because you only saw it from Naziah reaching out, you didn't consider that he had been potentially reaching out to her before that? Girl, if I had a steel toe boot, I would kick your teeth down your throat if I could, because you a liar. In my opinion, you a liar. And it's the truth ain't in you. You tell bits and pieces of the truth, whatever can make you and your mama and your sister and the rest of y'all look good. But whole time Naziah ran circles around y'all ass with all of this proof that she done gathered. I pat that baby on the back because she really underwent a lot to do this, and it cost her her life because y'all would not defend her, y'all would not stand up for her, y'all would not speak up for her, y'all would not protect her, y'all did not do shit to help this girl or your own daughter, allegedly. Everything that I'm saying is allegedly, and it's my perspective, but the way I see it, Naziah was literally a protector. She was more of a mother to them kids than their own mother. They did say that she babysat a lot for Shannon and Marquita, right? She babysat a lot. She was left in the house with them kids a lot, apparently. And when Jarvis would come and get them kids, guess what Neziah was doing? Go back to the text messages. She was reaching out to him, trying to keep him from doing anything to Janiyah and the other one, the other little one. Remember, Neziah is the older cousin. She's their older cousin. She was trying to protect them. She wasn't doing this shit because she wanted to. She was doing it because she felt like she had to. She was doing it because she felt like she had to. And now look what happened. She even had the text messages in there talking about Hope being pregnant. Like a blaring flag. Like, look, this is what he's on now, y'all. Not only is he asking me to be his, but now I'm pregnant. Big ass blaring signs. I don't care how much deleting of messages that could possibly be done. Nothing is ever erased. It's never gone forever. Once you put it on an electronic device, once you put it out on the internet, once you put it out into these electronics, it's there. And you know what else? A lot of times with parents, what they do is they tell these kids like, hey, you don't do nothing wrong on these devices because I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out. There's ways to find out. And even if it's a school issued device, they give the parents, and if the kids are old enough to sign a rights and responsibility letter, then they will have them sign it and return it to the school. And I'm pretty sure that if Annette and Shannon were saying to Neziah, don't be doing nothing you ain't supposed to be doing on them tablets, and taking it away from her, y'all are saying that she was on the devices when she wasn't supposed to be. But my thing is, if she was a good kid, why would you take them away from her? She was clearly doing well in school per your testimony, right? What other reasons would you have for taking the devices away? That's what I'm trying to understand. The only logical explanation for your taking them away is because you didn't want her to out y'all. To out that nasty ass, trash ass family of yours. Y'all are disgusting. Literally did nothing. Allegedly. To protect these children. Namely the little girls. Like, none of y'all ever questioned why he would want the girls to come up there, not the little boys to come help clean up the shop. Furthermore, why is kids hanging around the shop anyway? It's too dangerous. It's too much goings on in a shop, in a mechanic shop. Hell, I go take my car to a shop and they literally tell me I can't be inside the bay because it's a liability. I had to wait outside in the waiting room or wait outside, whatever, because it's too dangerous to be inside if something happens. You can't be fucking for real. So I said all of this to say that I'm still justice for Neziah, and I hope that this baby gets every ounce of justice that she deserves, because none of this was supposed to happen to her. But the fact that it did, it blew the lid off of a lot of shit, and she took on a role that she should have never had to take on. Now I hope that this video has given y'all some thought, and I will say this too, and that if that's you following my page and subscribe to my YouTube channel, bitch, this is not a safe haven for you. You better get the fuck on with that shit, because I'm not playing with you. You do not have a safe space over here. You may watch, but you may stay in my motherfucking bushes, bitch, because if you open your mouth, I'm going to tear your ass up on this internet. I'm not playing with you. Shannon and Marquita, if y'all come over here with that shit, I'm trying to tell you, I will eat y'all the fuck up. I got time. I will make time for you. I'm not playing behind this little girl or any other little girl. I'm not playing behind no kids, period. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Really. Justice for Naziah, man. Thank y'all for watching and subscribing and engaging my content, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments, please. Y'all be good and be good to each other.